All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to
How Did We Get Here?
This week we thought we would have Dave, our good friend, who we did mention a couple times on the last episode. So we figured he would be a perfect first guest.
Why not bring Dave in?
Why not bring Dave in? Thanks, Dave, for letting us use your car. And that was our bonding moment.
I was like, when did we use his car?
We literally talked about it last week.
We did. Thanks for building our friendship, Dave.
Yeah. This podcast is because of you.
Yeah.
And the Lord.
Well, you're welcome.
Okay, so let's talk about a little bit how we met Dave. Oh, I guess we both have different, stories, or I guess whatever, of how we met Dave. But I love Dave's first impression of each of us.
Oh, gosh. Well, it can't be any worse than your first impression of me, so.
Well, I'll start with you, Beth.
Okay.
I think the first time I remember you guys, you came to church.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I don't think I was sharing that day. Maybe it was shortly after that. But I remember you singing.
Oh.
And I was like, we need to get you on the worship team.
Oh, yeah, it was the gathering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just remember you guys sitting there and coming in for that. I was like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then Kelsey Hargadon asked you to
she
jump in shortly
jumped
after
in
that.
Real fast. Yeah.
And then Kelsey, I was thinking the first time I really remember meeting you was when we were unloading some of our friends. They were just moving to town.
Yes.
And you were singing with a couple other kids. And I was just like...
You're like, what in the world?
I thought it was really cool. Because you didn't know us, but you guys were just all singing, and we just had met, and it's like, but singing some songs to the Lord. So,
nice.
Anyhow.
Wow, I don't remember you being there at all, but...
It was at the storage facility.
Okay, that's so funny. Here's my memory of that day, is that it was, the storage unit unloading and just a bunch of cowboys. And I had never seen, cowboys before. They had hats, they were wearing the Wranglers.
Wait, did you guys have Spurs on?
The work shirts.
I don't think I had the Spurs. Crick probably.
I was about to say, I bet Crick did.
And I was like, who are these people?
You're like, where are we moving?
Yeah, because I think, my idea of, church people or worship people from Reading was, skinny jean wearing, hipster men.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Dave and his brother and the men of this community are not like that. So, anyway.
No.
No.
But they are ranchers, which is pretty cool.
So do you remember the first time you met Dave, other than the storage unit?
Oh, man. I don't know that I do. I mean, I remember evening service. You guys would come, getting to know you guys there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember when I started teaching your kids, but that was shortly thereafter. I teach math to his two oldest. But yeah, it's funny. I don't remember how we actually got to know one another. Probably just through church.
I think a lot through church, but when we went to that conference together too, down at Castle Rock.
Yeah.
And
I think that's where a lot of people... That's what I love about conferences, especially long ones, multiple day ones, is you get to know people better than you ever did before. I don't know why. It's always fun, but...
Yeah. That and being on the worship team together.
Oh, yeah. It's like a little tiny family.
Yes.
Well, it's actually very
it's
big.
not that tiny, actually.
It's pretty big.
It's a lot of people.
I don't actually remember how I met Dave either. Just from the gathering, I think. I can see a mental image in my head of you and Amber and the kids. But other than that, I don't remember how we really met or what my first impression was. I do have one thing I have to admit.
Oh, no.
Another judgmental moment of Beth's.
No.
Actually, it wasn't me this time. It was Braun. I do have to admit this.
I remember
Are you going to throw Braun under the bus?
I'm throwing Braun under the bus because the best part is he probably doesn't remember this because he doesn't remember a lot of things.
Well, he will remember it now when it's on the internet.
If he even listens to us.
He probably doesn't.
Anyways, I just remember, and it was not at the gathering, I don't think. I think it was Sunday morning. I don't know why. The first time Dave ever shared in front of the church. Ever, right?
Pretty close, I think.
And I just remember Braun leaning over to me, and and Dave was just standing up front, and Braun leans over and he goes, "Is this guy gonna spit it out or what?"
That's terrible.
I know.
Braun.
Whatever, they're like BFFs now, it's fine.
Yeah.
Braun, I was hurt and offended. I still am.
Yes.
All this talk of unoffendability doesn't apply.
To the moment.
Yes.
It's so funny. Anyways, that's all I remember about one of the first times we met Dave. But it must have been like, we must not have known you. Because I don't think Braun would have been like, who is this guy and what is he doing? Like,
My friend David.
My friend Dave.
It out. Oh, fine.
That was funny. Anyways.
Yes. Well, speaking of all that, and even speaking about speaking in church, tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you ended up in Colorado and how you ended up being somebody who speaks in front of church.
Well, that could entail quite a bit. I'll try to keep it short. So till I was 13, I was born out close to Chicago and lived there till I was 13. And then we moved out to the Panhandle of Nebraska. And I was there till after I got married. And we moved here about 13 years ago.
Wow.
But I don't know. I grew up in a Christian family. As long as I can remember, my mom and dad were youth leaders when I was younger, and so church has always been a big part of my life. My mom was always in worship, and dad was usually the youth leader, so we were always doing stuff like that. But as to getting to where I would speak in front of people, that I hated speaking in front of people. I'd get up and I would just start shaking. Mm-hmm. And I even going into college, like I put my speech class till I did that my senior year because I wanted to avoid it. Which that made it even more awkward because there was all freshmen and then like one senior. But I think what really changed that for me, a couple years ago, I remember I had this time with the Lord where I was actually listening to a Bethel conference with Randy Clark and Bill Johnson, and there was, I guess you could say, I had an encounter with God listening to that, and I realized I could have a personal relationship with the Lord more than like right now, instead of just when I get to heaven, and that shifted things for me. It got me excited. It's like, I need to tell people about this, and so that's what actually got me up in front of people at first, is because I wanted to tell them about I could experience God on a personal level right now. And I wanted to tell people about that. And I think that's what keeps me still going, is he's always teaching me something new. And I want to tell people about it. And so, in short, that's how I got there, I guess.
Nice.
Have you guys always been ranchers?
In Illinois, we lived out on a farm, but we didn't run it. We just rented the place. But we've always grown. My grandpa was a farmer, and my other grandpa was a rancher. So the difference, one does more crops, the other one does more cattle and stuff. So,
yeah.
But when I was 13, we moved to Nebraska and moved into my grandpa's place. And my grandpa Brost, and he's the one who had the cattle. And we loved it. And so ever since I was 13, all through high school, I worked for him and my uncle. And then, like I said, 13 years ago, my brother offered me a job up here. So ever since I was 13, I've been ranching.
What's it like having your little brother as your boss?
It's good.
Wait, off the record. No, I'm just kidding.
I feel kind of spoiled because, like, he has to make all the hard decisions.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm still the older brother, so a lot of times I can still kind of, how do I say this?
Give him a hard time about
I
whatever he decides.
Yeah. But we get along really well, so we're really blessed that way, I guess you could say. But so yeah, I like working for him. He's a good boss.
So what does a typical day, I mean, there are no typical days in ranching typically, but what does a typical day look like for you in the summer and then also in the winter? Because a lot of people who listen probably don't ranch and don't have an idea of what that world is like.
It is hard. Ranching, there's so many different things you do. What I focus on more is I love working with the soil, so I do a lot with the water management on our ranch. I do a lot with the irrigation. And then I also do a lot with rotating the cattle. Like in college, I studied a lot of regenerative agriculture and sustainable agriculture. I like the word regenerative better, but that's what I studied, and just how to build the soil without putting in a lot of inputs and just using what you have. And so we manage our cattle where I move them every day, and so I do a lot of that, deciding when they need to be moved and like how much grass to give them, and kind of building the infrastructure around that. So that's what I do in the summers a lot. In the winters, we feed almost every day the cattle that we keep up here, and then do a lot of snow plowing, and it is a little slower, so which is kind of nice. But yeah, so in the winters, if we can, we try to do some projects. I do a lot of the mechanicking too, so I try to work on the trucks or tractors in the winter. So
Nice.
That's kind of what my days look like. Summers are a lot longer hours. The winters, an 8-hour day is pretty normal. So.
And so all your kids are homeschooled, right? Do they get to come out and help you on the ranch, or what does that look like? Do they enjoy that?
Yeah.
As far as you know.
I think they all enjoy it.
Dave has 5 kids, by the way.
Yeah. Damon's the oldest, 15, and then Owen's the youngest, and he's 7.
That's crazy.
Whoa, Owen is 7?
I know.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
That's so crazy.
I remember when he was teeny tiny.
He's growing up too fast. But so anyhow, yeah, they love to come out. Megan does more with Mom, but all the boys come out quite a bit. Damon worked for me this summer, or for the ranch, and but the younger boys come out all the time. And yesterday I had the 3 younger boys, and then the 2 younger boys at Cricks out with us, so we had a good crew. And they love to come around and just help where they can, and usually they just play around quite a bit, but it's pretty cool. I'm really blessed to be able to raise my family out on a ranch where they can come out to work as long as they're not doing school almost every day.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. I love how with ranching, like, it is so family oriented. Like, there's not a lot of jobs or places that you can live really that are so oriented around the family and involve the kids. And like, even in the winter when you feed, like, basically there's just all these hay bales on the back of like a flatbed that you pull through the snowy fields. So sometimes the kids will attach their sleds to the back and get pulled through. And that's so fun. I just love stuff like that. I did fall off the sled once. Were you there? Do you remember that? I fell off.
I think I probably was there.
Running to try to catch it and kept falling in the snow.
It's funny.
It is nice. And another thing that's really nice is, since I live and work on the ranch, I can come in for lunch, and with the kids being homeschooled, I get to see them all the time, and it's pretty cool. So
yeah, that's neat. Can you tell us more about? So you talked about like regenerative, practices with the soil and all of that. There was one Sunday a while back, maybe even years ago, that you shared about photosynthesis and just how that connects to like God and all these cool things. I don't even know how to repeat it, but could you tell us more about that?
Could you explain what photosynthesis is first, and then
and
then try to repeat what you told us that Sunday morning?
But make sure to say photosynthesis many times so that
I try to say it as little as possible.
That's what I need to do too.
Photosynthesis.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to say that again.
We are talking about photosynthesis.
Yeah, insert word here. You heard it once, that's enough.
So photosynthesis is...
Oh, we're good. Sorry.
is when you take or is part of God's creation. It's when actually green plants will use the sunlight and water, and they'll pull CO2 out of the atmosphere, and it breaks it down, and it makes it, part of it is released into like sugars that go into the soil to feed the plants and all the microbes and everything. Actually, more the microbes, and the microbes feed the plants.
What is a microbe?
These like little bugs in the soil.
Okay, good.
So, but then when it breaks down the CO2, so part of it goes into like carbohydrates and sugars that go into the soil through the plant. And then the other part that it breaks it into is oxygen that goes out. And that's basically why we can breathe and all that kind of stuff. But so it's a pretty cool process and really important to life on Earth. Actually, if we didn't have that, we'd be in big trouble.
We would not be here.
But yeah.
Sorry, interruption. Does the sun play any part in photosynthesis?
Yeah, so without the sun, it wouldn't be able to break down the CO2.
Okay.
So it needs sunlight and water for the plant to be able to break it down. So I know, for me, one of the things I like about being on the ranch is I feel like God gives me a lot of parallels between the way the soil works or grasses or any of that and just the way he moves and works. And so photosynthesis for me was cool because I feel like he can take a process. So CO2, carbon dioxide, is something that we usually, you hear about and it's a bad thing. But when you manage your soil right and have all these green grasses, they take that CO2 out of the atmosphere and put it in the soil and then release the oxygen. So it takes something that's bad and then makes something good out of it. And so that was just a picture for me of how God works. I love how he takes things that look negative and he breaks it down and can make a positive out of it. But yeah, there's a lot more about photosynthesis. Like I like it too. Like I look at our pastures, and the more green grass I can have, the more it's like it's a giant solar panel. And so the more I want to have even more and more green grass, so it creates this process over and over and over again. So a lot of my management is based around how can I have a green plant for a longer period of time, and so that will determine how short I graze it, or how long it takes me to come back to that same place. But anyhow, there's a lot more to it, but it's a pretty cool process.
Yeah, I love that, because I think when you shared it in church, what really struck me was I think you were talking about that verse of like the Lord using all things for good, or all things work together for good, or maybe I just connected it to that because that's what I thought of. But
yeah,
like even the things that we see as negative, like the CO2, the carbon dioxide in our worlds, like that God can transform that into something that actually gives life, I think is really cool. Yeah, like something that is actually necessary for survival, but it's only through light, and it's only through living water, and it's crazy.
That was the part that like got me. I was like, it needs light. Like the plants need light. They need water, like just like we do. But we need like God's light, right? Like, so the light is the Lord. And so I don't know. There was just so many things like that I could take out of it and take from it. Like, yes, the Lord processes out, like takes the good or the bad and makes it good. But it's also like just shows us how much we need the light of the Lord and the living water. And there was something else you just said that I was like, yeah, like you could just dive so deep into like all the things that the Lord just created this crazy system to show how much we need him and depend on him, like to live.
Yeah, and like plants just naturally operate this way. That's what's crazy to me. Is like you don't have to teach a plant how to use photosynthesis.
Right. It just already knows. Like,
it just does it naturally. So I wonder if we're the same way. We really...
Here's kind of another cool thing about it. So I was talking about the microbes, the little bugs. So for me, the soil is like a picture of almost like the kingdom of heaven. You don't realize how much is going on around us. But when you dig into the soil, like if you have just 1 tablespoon of healthy soil, there's more life in that tablespoon than there is people in the world.
What?
So that's hard to imagine, isn't it? Like just 1 tablespoon, there's more life in that. There's more bugs. There's more little microbes moving around in that than there are people in the world. If you and that's so like a picture of the kingdom of heaven. We don't know. There's so much going on around us that we're learning. The Lord is giving us little tastes of it, but I feel like it's like the soil we haven't even grasped even close to what he has in store for us.
Wow.
But
That's really cool.
so I look at the soil and it makes me excited for how much more God has.
Yeah.
How did you become interested in like studying soil, or even like experimenting with how you can get plants to stay for longer? Like, how did you get there?
I've always liked working with my hands. And like I said, both my grandpas worked in agriculture, and so I think that's where it started. Like the soil specifically, I all through high school I worked for different farmers and ranchers, and I was really blessed with the bosses I had and stuff, but we did things more of a conventional way, where you use a lot of inputs, a lot of fertilizers and different stuff, or pesticides. But the more I started digging into it, I realized, like in college, the soil already has what it needs if you know how to manage it right.
Wow.
And so I think that's what really intrigued me about it. It was like, wow, what? And because of my walk with God, it excited me. It's like, I felt like he was saying there's so much more here than what you realize. And so, yeah, that's what kind of got me into it more. I wanted to see what you could do without using all these inputs. And, you know, like reflecting on it now, I think it ties to too, just like in my personal walk with the Lord, I know he has so much more. And a lot of times we'll go try to find all these outside inputs to fix ourselves. But when we're walking with him, I think he highlights things and shows us, hey, let me walk you through this. I can show you the truth of who you are. Yeah.
It's almost like he's saying, like we already have, just like the soil, we already have everything that we need. And it's kind of like, you know, in the Bible when it says something about the lilies, but still like how much does God love us if he loves the soil to give it what it already needs? Like he loves us so much more than that, right? Like if he's giving soil and flowers and plants everything that they need, then don't you think we already have what we need?
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I was actually, that's funny because I wasn't even thinking of that scripture. Yeah. But it's Matthew 6, and I just was reading that. And it talks about, like, why do we worry about what we'll eat or drink or wear? Yeah. And our Heavenly Father knows that, and it talks about the sparrows and then the lilies, and like Solomon wasn't even arrayed like a lily. And then in 6:33 it says, but seek first his kingdom and all these other things will be added. Right. And it's pretty cool.
I'm just getting this picture of us like laying in the sun, photosynthesing, like soaking up all that the Lord has for us.
Maybe we need to do that more.
I'm like, oh, maybe we need to go lay in the sun.
No, I mean, we were kind of doing that yesterday in the park.
That's true. Yeah. I don't know why I just have this image of like people being like a plant. Oh, sorry.
So speaking of like your soul as soil or your heart as soil, what do you think are like new ways that the Lord has taught you to care for the soil of your heart over the past few years?
Well, Beth just said thinking of ourselves like a plant. Like if I think of myself like a plant, my goal is to grow deep and for my roots to go deep in the truth of who God says he is. And so I think especially lately he's been really digging in that it's easy. Well, I shared this on Sunday, but it's easy to believe lies about ourselves. but it takes faith to believe the truth about ourselves. So going back to the soil, like, am I going to believe the truth that there's incredible life in the soil and then go deep into it? Or am I going to believe lies that no, you need output, you need these outside things to make you grow, to make you better. But the truth is, all I need is in the Lord, and I can find it in there. And what he says about me is true. And so I'm going to go deep into that and hold on to his truth in faith over what I may feel. Like we were talking about, there's things that are real. I may be feeling discouraged or afraid, but the truth is, because of God, I'm not afraid. And I don't need to be afraid. I don't need to be discouraged. I have joy and peace, even if I don't feel like it, because he's there. And yeah, it's real. It's the real versus the true. And I want to hold on to the truth. And the more I speak that, the more I know it's going to come true. It's like the same with the soil. The more I dig into it, and even though I can't see the processes with my eyes, I know it's working. And now after we've been here 13 years, I can see the changes.
Wow.
So
that's cool. What changes do you see, like, physically with the soil over the last 13 years?
Well, we see even more life in it. Like, there's more earthworms, there's more beetles and insects, but also, like, we have more production now. That when we first started, we used to put in a lot of fertilizer, but we actually produce more grass now than we did, and we haven't used fertilizers in probably 5 or 6 years, and we have more grass than we ever did when we used fertilizer.
Wow.
And it holds more water and stays green longer because it holds more water and stuff like that. So
it's really cool.
It's
pretty cool how, like, as you're, learning with the Lord how to take care of yourself and the soil, like, it really is true that it has everything it needs and it just responds. Like, it just naturally gets
and it's a
better.
Process, like 6 years or whatever, that you said. It's a process. And just trusting the Lord in the waiting, like, oh gosh, are you going to make the grass grow or not? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, and I was just thinking about, like, what you said about, like, how much stuff is in the soil, like the microbes, the things that we can't see.
Yeah.
And, like, there's so much of it there. And like you said, like, there's so much we can't see that the Lord is doing. It's like all the stuff that's hiding in the soil. It's like all the stuff that God's doing that we just can't see.
Right.
And it's just so crazy.
Yeah. And it's like he's hidden it almost. Like, he made the soil that way and, like, just let humans discover it and how it works, and that we're still discovering it now. Even though, it's been so many years and there's been so many people studying it, we're still learning new things. Yeah. It's crazy.
I think too, like, when we trust him, then we're naturally going to walk in obedience. If we trust someone, we're going to do what they say or encourage us to do. And that's part of, like, again, with the soil, like, there are things that need to be done for it, like, you have to manage it right. But when you learn how it works, you learn the truth of what's going on in there, you can manage according to what's going on there. So the same in our walk with God, when we believe the truth, he gives us steps to follow that we'll see the fruit of that. And I think that's cool too.
Yeah. Speaking of trust, and, like, we were talking about Matthew 6 just now. One thing you mentioned on Tuesday at our stirring group, our small group, that I thought was really good is, like, that you've had this mindset shift from, like, responsibility, like, heavy on the I have to provide, to, like, trusting the Lord. Can you explain that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, being the father of 5, I think this isn't just for me too, but I feel like the Lord is shifting a paradigm for a lot of us, where responsibility seems like that's on the forefront of our minds, even more so than in trusting that he's going to care for us. It's like, so I want to say this right. But so I want to take care of my kids, but the best way for me to take care of my kids is to always follow what the Lord is saying.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a part of me that struggles sometimes with like, why, if my finances are struggling or something like that, then I need to focus on that. But I don't. The finances don't need to be the focus. My relationship with the Lord needs to be the focus, and that's gonna bring the most life.
Yeah.
But when I get into that of feeling like I need to be responsible, then I get tied up in, well, like I need to make more money or I need to work harder.
Yeah.
But if I just stay focused on the Lord, like, so some of the places we're in right now, it doesn't seem really financially profitable, but it's I get to see it's very profitable in other ways, like people's lives are being changed, you know. Like ranching isn't necessarily very profitable, but I get to raise my kids and they get to come to work with me. Like we were talking, I get to come in for lunch and be with my kids. And to me, that is more profitable than having all the money I can make.
Yeah, it's different from what the natural world sees.
Yeah.
When we're doing it the way God wants, right? Like it seems a little bit scary and terrifying, but and it looks different. So people always are like, "Whoa, what are you doing?" But you're like, "I'm just doing what the Lord told me." And sometimes that's crazy, but
it is, and that's why I had to go back to like Matthew 6 and hold that truth and not let it go, that He's gonna take care of everything.
It just reminds me, one of our friends said one time, I was talking to her about like, wow, I'm just not used to being the provider, like to not being the provider. And she laughed at me and she said, well, good thing you never were the provider. Ooh. And so like when you're talking about responsibility, like, oh, I feel like I need to be responsible for this. I just like had this thought like, well, good thing you don't have to be responsible for that. Like the Lord is the one that's responsible for, you know, giving us all the money that we need, even if it's just enough to get by, or giving us our food, or giving us light, whatever it takes, like photosynthesis wise. Like He's responsible for that, and it's a good thing we don't have to be responsible for that, because that would suck.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy when you think about like how so many ways we think we need to be so responsible, and again, there is some truth to that, but like the Bible over and over and over again, it uses an analogy of a shepherd and the sheep. And the Lord says, I'm a good shepherd. And He says that over and over again. And so there's that simple trust where like, if He's a good shepherd, He's going to provide everything that the sheep need. Everything they need, and they don't have to concern themselves with that. Yeah, they just need to trust Him, and He uses that too. Like when they trust Him, they hear His voice and they follow Him because they know He's going to provide. Yeah, and you know, I think I want to do that a lot more. Yeah,
be a good little sheep.
Yes. I think one of the things that I admire most about you, Dave, is that you are so humble, but you're so full of faith. And, like, you're very honest with what you're learning from the Lord. And, like, a lot of the trust and the leaning on Him as provider. And even, like, you know, the fact that you didn't used to speak in front of people and you would, like, physically tremble. Yeah. And now, like... I mean, the fact that we have a mic in your face and like you're willing to like chat with us,
we've literally backed you into a corner here.
Literally, he's in the corner with the children's bookshelves at the moment. But I think it's such a testimony of like kind of how the soil has all the ingredients it needs to thrive. Like God has given you the boldness and the courage, but it just took like Him tending that in you. And I just think it's so cool that you've stepped into that so fully, and now you lead others into that. Yeah, I agree. And I think like you just carry such a wisdom and an authority, but in a gentle way. And I feel like, for the people listening, I don't think it's accidental that they're listening today. And I think there's something that the Lord wants to say to them. So could you just bless the people listening? Just say a little, prayer, impart, the faith and the trust that you have to them.
There's a scripture that I wish I'm drawing a blank on what the reference is, but I think it's in Jeremiah, and it talks about even in drought that our roots will go deep. It's like we're planted by streams of water, and so even in a drought, even when it's hard, we're still going to stay green. And I guess I just want to release this, that we can trust God in every situation. And in those hard times, when we trust Him, your roots are going to go deep, and they're going to keep going deeper. And so even though it seems like everything around you may be just going the wrong direction, we can know that God is faithful, that He's always there, that He's always surrounding us, and that there's so much life in Him. There's abundant life. And it's not tied to the things of this world. It's tied to His truth and what He says. And I pray that our eyes, that He would shift all of our eyes to see how He works. That this world isn't our home. We're meant for so much more.
That was good. Sorry. I was just sitting on that for a minute.
Absorbing it. Photosynthesizing.
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Thanks for doing that, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel a little humorous coming out.
Yeah.
Let's
I think it's time.
on. Hot takes with Dave.
Hot takes with Dave. This is the part we did not tell David we were going to do, and I'm very excited.
This is what makes it feel more like Stirring Group.
Yeah.
We get real serious,
Really
and then
deep.
you two
And
start joking.
and then Kelsey and Beth just come in with their sarcastic selves.
So anyway, we came up with some controversial topics for you to take a side on.
Oh boy.
So people, never us of course, sometimes give Dave a hard time for never raising his voice, or not having a strong opinion on things, but you do have strong opinions, and these are some important questions.
Yes,
so
very important.
maybe we'll just go every other, Beth. Do you want to start?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
David, do you believe that pineapple should be on pizza?
Yes.
Do you
I
like
do.
pineapple
Wow.
on pizza?
I do like
I actually believe
pineapple.
we have eaten barbecue pineapple pizza once before
Yeah.
together at your house. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Good.
And pineapples are good for you. So
Yeah.
They probably use photosynthesis.
They probably do.
they do.
All the nutrients. Yeah. Okay, how do you feel about the combination of socks and sandals?
It's never really worked well for me.
How come?
Ranching,
Ranching, yeah.
mud, poop, all the things.
I just don't really like it.
Okay, so that's a no from Dave.
Like for yourself or for other people?
For myself, I think it's not very comfortable. And everything gets caught up in the socks, and I don't like how it looks. It's really,
Oh, she said it.
Socks and sandals is as uncomfortable as Dave is right now.
Why do you ask these questions?
For this exact reason. This is hilarious.
Okay, is a hot dog a sandwich?
No. It's its own category.
Yeah, I don't know what I think it is either. I don't think it's a sandwich.
Yeah, it does have sandwich qualities, though.
Yeah.
Bread,
Meat.
filling.
Filling.
I was trying to figure out how to not say meat. I just wanted to use another word.
There's bread and filling.
Ask me tomorrow, I might change my mind.
Oh, wow, okay. In your opinion, which should be poured into the bowl first, cereal or milk?
The cereal.
Okay, good. Whew. There are
I
some
do
people in
cereal
this
too.
world who pour the milk first and then
I was
cereal.
like, wait, how do I eat cereal?
If you are listening and you're one of those, please comment so we can ridicule you in the comments.
That seems dumb. Why would you put the milk in first?
I don't know. Is it like portion control? Like, I'm only going to eat as much cereal as this much milk allows. Anything more than that, cut it off.
Have you ever used anything in replace of milk in your cereal?
Ooh.
Yes.
What?
I've used orange juice.
Oh, how was that?
It's not bad.
With what kind of cereal?
I think lots of kinds. My cousins actually were, lactose intolerant.
Mm-hmm.
So they always had to put something else on their cereal. So whenever I'd go over to their house, we had orange juice on our cereal.
Wow, that's very strange.
You know, not alternate milks. No soy milk.
Almond milk.
No almond milk. Orange juice. Interesting.
Well, they're ranchers. They're probably like those people that don't believe in milking nuts.
Yeah, probably. They're like, an orange was made with liquid. We're using that instead.
I'm going to save this one for the end, so I'm going to read off your paper.
Okay.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Oh, shoot, I don't know.
Dave,
like
you're
them
supposed to have an opinion.
Yeah, I gave you opinions on all the others. That's pretty good for me.
Yeah.
I don't like chocolate, so vanilla it is.
Like a chocolate vanilla swirl.
I like them both. It depends on the mood I'm in.
Oh, yeah.
So
If you were to have ice cream today, would it be chocolate or vanilla?
probably chocolate.
Yeah.
Vanilla with chocolate syrup.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a better pet or animal in general, cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Okay.
Same, I agree. I don't like cats.
Do you have a reasoning behind that, or just...
I feel like cats have a lot more attitude. And dogs, attitudes that can be annoying. Whereas dogs are just, well, at least my dogs. They always love me.
Perfect in every way.
The cat will love me one day and not the next. Or...
Yeah.
So do you think Kelsey and I have a personality of a cat?
That is an interesting question, actually.
Cat or dog? Are we a cat or a dog? Not together. You can do it separately. Oh, we could be cat dog.
Whoa.
Did you ever watch Cat Dog as a child?
No, what the heck is that?
Oh, never mind. Moving on.
No comment on that one.
Some takes are just too hot for Dave at this moment.
Okay, you know, since I know you love flying so much, because we just had this conversation, do you rather a window or an aisle seat?
I would rather a window.
Why?
I like to be able to look outside. And I don't feel as trapped.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
So
Especially when you're trapped by strangers. That's
Yeah.
never a fun feeling.
Yeah.
And I can have at least one side's the wall, and I can just have one person on one side instead of both sides.
Yes. Yes.
You can at least cuddle with the wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Minimum stranger exposure. Do you want to take the last one, Beth?
Dave, would you ever eat whipped cream on broccoli?
No.
That is so rude.
Oh, wait, I already did.
And it's actually pretty good, right?
It is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with whipped cream on broccoli.
Surprisingly,
The things
it
we
was
do at Dave's
really
house.
good.
Yeah, speaking of your house as well, how do you feel about olives?
I like olives, but I don't get them when you guys come over.
Yes.
They're already gone.
Like, oh, I did want olives on my taco, but it looks like Kelsey and Beth ate the whole thing.
Out of luck. Not today. Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
Well, so Dave, because the show is called How Did We Get Here, what are some things you wonder about the world? How did we get here? How does this happen?
Yeah.
Why are things the way that they are?
I don't think I really have one.
Yeah, I feel like mine is
What do
not
you
very
have?
good either. The only thing that I was thinking of this morning is last names and how, like, you have your common last names, like, you know, Jones or something else that's common.
Smith.
Or like, I mean, same in other countries. They have last names that are just the common last names. But then you have like, I mean, my last name means keeper of the ale, so that's great. But like, I don't know, just these really unique last names. And it's like, at some point in time, that family was just named for their profession. Oh. But now, all of these people in the world have that last name and they don't even understand it. And they're like, I don't even know how to spell this thing. What does it mean? You know?
Yeah.
But at one point it was very significant.
Interesting. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, because my maiden last name is Glaive. Like, why?
What does that mean?
It's a throwing star.
What?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I have no idea.
But it makes you wonder about like
where
your
did
ancestors.
that come from? Yeah, why are we named after a
mine were
throwing star?
drunkards and yours were athletes. So that's great.
The only thing I could think of is just like some of the things we talked about, like pineapple and broccoli, vegetables in general. Who decided they were going to eat that thing and decide that it was good?
I think they just had trial and error.
Yeah,
they're like, today we're gonna eat every green plant and survival of the fittest.
And if it's poisonous, you're gone.
Then
Sorry.
we'll know.
Then we know we can't eat that. But I'm like, who just saw a pineapple and decided to cut inside of it and realize that there's something good in there?
Yeah, it's true.
Or like a coconut.
Yeah.
Like, that's strange. Who decided that?
Good question.
Yeah.
Okay, I got one that
Okay.
sometimes, well, actually a fair bit. Like when Adam was in the garden and naming things, it makes me curious. Like, why would he name like a horse? Why do you call it a horse?
Well, he spoke
would,
whatever other language, Hebrew or something, so we probably didn't name it a horse. But
yeah, that's true.
But the English translation is horse, or what?
Yeah,
I guess.
But the names that you did choose, why?
Yeah.
Why?
I'm curious. Like, how did he come up with that, or what made him think of that for the specific animals and stuff?
Was he going by vibes only? Like, this animal feels like a hippopotamus. Like, what?
Or like, now I'm thinking about the garden. Like, the tree and the apple. Why is it an apple?
Was it an apple?
Yeah, exactly. Or was it a lime?
Wow.
I don't know.
It couldn't be a lime. Limes are too good.
So are apples.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways.
Well, that was a good little segment of things we wonder about the world.
Well, thanks, Dave, for joining us. This was fun, and I think like it had a lot of good stuff. There was a lot of fruit in there.
Yeah. Yes. Hopefully, the listeners are good soil for all of this information to land.
Oh, that's funny. So many puns. Do you have anything, Dave?
I don't. Thank you, guys. This was fun.
Good.
It was fun.
Glad you had fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye.
Bye.